NASA's reliance on SpaceX is reaching new heights. The agency scrapped all their planned Starliner missions and are sticking with Musk's company instead. From the rescue flight to Starliner 1 task, Boeing's entire reputation has been shattered by Dragon's replacement. Even Russia's Soyuz is no exception. It could be out of NASA's plans as well. Before long, no one will want to fly on anything but Dragon. So, why is that? Is Dragon on its way to eliminating the competition? Let's dive in and find out on today's episode of Alpha Tech. This week, NASA has officially decided to shift astronauts originally assigned to Starliner 1 over to SpaceX Crew 11 because Starliner still isn't ready. This flight was supposed to be Boeing's first operational crewed mission, scheduled for late this year after the crewed flight test, the flight that left SUNY Williams-Va Butch Wilmore stuck in orbit. But with no clear fix for Starliner's ongoing technical issues, NASA is done playing the waiting game. Rather than leaving astronauts in limbo, they're reassigning them. Zena Cardman, originally slated for Starliner, will now command Crew 11, launching July 2025 on SpaceX's Dragon. She'll be joined by Mike Fincke, Kimia Yui, and Oleg Platonov. At this point, it's just more proof that NASA is leaning on SpaceX more than ever. Meanwhile, Starliner, still stuck on the ground, still burning through Boeing's budget, and still struggling to prove it's worth the trouble. When it comes to rescuing SUNY and Butch, Soyuz and Dragon were the top contenders. However, Dragon was chosen not only for its reliability, but also thanks to Trump's push. Before setting foot on Dragon for the first time, and finally heading back to the Earth after 286 days in orbit, they had already expressed their gratitude for President Donald Trump's support and Elon Musk's decision to step in and make it happen. Neither of them had a word to say about Boeing or Starliner, the spacecraft that got them to the ISS, and also the one that got them into this mess. On top of that, they're not getting any kind of compensation from NASA. All they're walking away with is their base salary, around $120,000 for more than 9 months in space, plus a tiny stipend that's barely worth mentioning. Setting these disappointments aside, Dragon's rescue mission also proved that it could eventually replace all of its competitors. Honestly, the latest rescue flight isn't much different from a regular Dragon mission. As long as NASA pays SpaceX, they can keep flying up and down as many times as they want. Just make sure the check clears. But really, it's Dragon's rugged, rock-steady build and best-in-class safety that make it a repeat flyer in no time flat. Without that edge, even if NASA poured billions into Starliner, it'd still be grounded, stuck spinning its wheels in testing phase. Kind of ironic, isn't it? And it's not just now. Dragon's reputation for reliability didn't just start today. It was already well proven years ago. Back in the Crew 1 mission, Japanese astronaut Soichi Noguchi, who was 58 at the time, flew on Dragon and had nothing but praise for it. He said, "The Dragon is the best. I feel Dragon is really ready to go up. It's really fun to ride. And 2 days in, Dragon is really remarkable memories." Well, Noguchi wasn't the only one. NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, the first crew to ride Dragon to space on the Demo 2 mission, said the experience was nothing short of a wild ride. Behnken described liftoff as surprisingly smooth at first, but once Falcon 9's first stage separated, that's when things got real. Dragon was breathing hard and racing into orbit, he said. "We were definitely hanging on for the ride." Just like kids having a blast on a roller coaster, the two astronauts also had an unforgettable ride on Dragon, but the excitement didn't stop there. Inside it, there's technology that other spacecraft might take another decade to catch up with. For example, there's a spacious 9.3 cubic meters of room, enough to comfortably fit 4 astronauts with space to move around. That's a far cry from the cramped Soyuz, which squeezes its crew into just 5 cubic meters in the orbital module, more like a space jail than a spacecraft. The coolest part? Right at the top of the spacecraft, there's a clear glass window, but you won't see it most of the time. It only reveals itself when Dragon reaches a safe orbit, as the metal nose cone swings open like a hinged lid, uncovering the breathtaking cupola beneath. Imagine the feeling of floating 400 kilometers above Earth, gazing down at the entire planet through this magical window. That's gotta be an absolutely incredible experience, right? Billionaire Jared Isaacman, the sponsor of SpaceX's 2021 Inspiration 4 mission, got to experience that feeling too during this historic all-civilian spaceflight. Sharing his thoughts with the press after the flight, Jared Isaacman said, "The single most impactful moment for me was the moonrise," adding, "That just made me think that we've got to just get our butt in gear a little bit more and get out there." What's even more interesting is that Dragon's toilet is located near the cupola, so astronauts often joke that using the toilet there, while gazing down at Earth, is the most priceless experience of all. I can confidently say that Russia's Soyuz can't offer this experience. It still sticks to old designs, just enough to get astronauts to and from space safely. And as for Starliner, a spacecraft developed at the same time as Dragon, nope, it doesn't have it either. Dragon is truly one of the best spacecrafts SpaceX has ever created. It's safe to say that if astronauts had the freedom to choose their spacecraft rather than being assigned one, most would choose Dragon, and it's not hard to see why. A big part of it comes down to reliability and safety. So far, Dragon has flown to the ISS nearly 50 times since its first successful orbital flight and docking with the station during the COTS demo flight back in May 2012. Moreover, let's talk about the cool tech inside Dragon. One of the biggest upgrades? Those giant touchscreen displays, basically 3 massive iPads right in front of the astronauts. But these aren't just for show. They give real-time data on everything, from the spacecraft's position and trajectory to the oxygen levels, temperature, and pressure inside. Plus, astronauts can communicate with mission control straight from the screen, way more convenient than the old-school button-filled control panels on Soyuz. As SpaceX engineer John Fetterspiel said, "Probably one of the biggest features of Dragon is the touch screens. We designed them not just to be functional, but to give astronauts a great user experience. They're not just along for the ride. They can control the spacecraft without having to wrestle with a bunch of switches unless absolutely necessary." I can't help but wonder, do they have games or Netflix on those screens? I mean, the entire launch and landing process is handled by mission control, and most systems are automated. Astronauts don't really need to manually fly the spacecraft. They just strap in and enjoy the ride. But imagine if they did have games. One wrong swipe, and instead of pausing a movie, you accidentally activate the launch escape system. Now, that would be one hell of a problem. This escape system is built to shoot the Crew Dragon away like a bullet if something goes wrong with the Falcon 9 during launch, getting the crew out of danger fast. It has 8 Super Draco engines, paired up at the 4 corners of the ship, with each one pumping out around 71 to 73 kilonewtons of thrust. When all 8 fire up together, they dish out a massive 570 to 584 kilonewtons of power, enough to blast the ship clear of a messed-up rocket, and lift the crew to a safe height in just a few seconds. After that, the ship pops its parachutes to land safely in the ocean. And of course, it's not so easy to trigger that a random button press would set it off. With all these advantages, it's no surprise that astronauts prefer Dragon over the alternatives. Take Soyuz, for example. This thing was designed back in the 1960s, and while no one can deny its reliability, it's also painfully outdated. The cramped interior barely gives astronauts enough room to move, let alone stretch out. The control panel? A chaotic mess of switches, buttons, and analog dials straight out of a Cold War submarine. And let's not forget, landing in a Soyuz is like getting tossed into a spin cycle before crash landing in the middle of Kazakhstan. And yet, despite its age, a seat on Soyuz still costs around $80 to $90 million, which makes Dragon's $55 million per seat look like an absolute bargain. Then there's Boeing's Starliner, the spaceship that was supposed to compete with Dragon, but just kept running into problems. Its first test flight was a disaster, with software issues nearly leaving it stranded in space. The second attempt didn't go much better. Delays kept piling up due to faulty valves, wiring problems, and a long list of other technical headaches. By 2024, it finally got astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore to the ISS, only for the thrusters to act up. NASA had to keep them in space longer than planned, and in the end, SpaceX's Dragon had to step in to bring them home. And the kicker? Starliner costs about $90 million per seat, even more than Soyuz. Meanwhile, Dragon keeps launching and landing like it's no big deal, at nearly half the price. And finally, there's Orion, NASA's deep space explorer. It's built for Artemis missions to the moon and beyond, but when it comes to competition, it's not really in the same lane as Dragon. It's bigger, with a roomier interior and packed with advanced systems. Think of it like a $400,000 Ferrari SF90. But here's the catch. It's not made for regular ISS trips, and with a jaw-dropping price tag over $4 billion per mission, it's more of a high-end luxury spacecraft than an everyday workhorse. You wouldn't roll up to the grocery store in that Ferrari when you've got a Tesla Model 3 doing the job just fine for way less, right? Now, Orion's had its share of ups and downs. Back in 2022, it aced its first uncrewed test flight around the moon for Artemis 1. But when it came back, they found issues with the heat shield. Turns out it charred more than expected during re-entry. NASA says they've sorted that out now, but the whole thing still feels kinda shaky. On top of that, there's all this buzz that their big ambitious space launch system might get scraped. With Artemis 2 coming up, no one's really sure if Orion will end up riding the SLS or if the whole plan's gonna change. So, yeah, its role in the mission, still a total question mark. So, when it comes to getting people into orbit safely and without breaking the bank, Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon are tough to beat right now. Honestly, look around. There's not much out there that can touch them at the moment. Oh, wait. We've got some fresh news. Coming up on March 31st at 9:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 0147 Coordinated Universal Time, SpaceX is set to launch the Fram-2 mission from Launch Complex 39A at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Kennedy Space Center. They'll be using a Falcon 9 booster, B1085, for this flight. Now, the name Fram-2 isn't just random, it's actually a nod to the Norwegian ship Fram, which was used for Antarctic and Arctic expeditions back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Keeping that same spirit of exploration alive, SpaceX's Crew Dragon Resilience will embark on a journey orbiting Earth over the poles for a mission that could last anywhere between 3 to 5 days.